It's time to dive face first to pure, unadulterated decadence.
It's the Andy and Remington Steel Show on your screens tonight. It's the Andy and Remington Steel Show for your home delight. We're talking about Age of Sigmar and anything else that is cool. Talking about Warhammer Fantasy, it's easy to learn the rules. Andy and Remington, Andy and Remington, Andy and Remington Show.
Welcome one and all. It's time yet again for the Andy and Rem Show, episode 142. And this time, it's about to get decadent. And not only because Slaanesh is on the horizon, but also because, as usual, we have with us Mr. Remington Steele. Hello there.
I'm still here, everybody. I'm
So,
still well up for it as well.
you saw the episode thumbnail, which I'm sure you did, and you will have had a glimpse of that new magnificent Slaanesh seating arrangement. However, that's not the most luxurious and decadent seat that you're going to see tonight, because I have it on good authority that Mr. Remington has his cheeks firmly planted in the lap of luxury.
I have treated myself to a New Year's gift straight from Remington Industries. This is the Remington massage chair. Yeah, and it's got a little heater. Hold on, it's got a little. Let's turn the heating on, shall we? No problem. Let's put the power on, shall we? If you can hear that, but it sounds like.
Does it sound like luxury?
Right, I can set it to waves, press, pulse, back, thigh, lumbar. Oh, I just felt something there. Yes. Oh, man, that's really nice. I ought to do. I've turned it off now. I really ought to use that more. But yes, the seat of Slaanesh himself is
So,
here.
anyone that thought maybe you weren't relaxed enough on this show,
So we're going to talk about the new models. What are we
I
talking
suppose
about?
we could, if you really
This
want
is,
to.
guys, the original and still the greatest original. Said original twice because it needed to be said twice because we are doubly original Warhammer Age of Sigmar show ever since 2014/2015. We've been ruling the waves. At least in our heads we have.
Well, I think it does bear out a little bit in reality as well. And not only that, we've also branched out to look at some other systems and model ranges as well. And there's going to be a few spicy ones later tonight that we're going to look at. Well, that came to my attention recently via the social medias. So first of all, I'm going to start with what GW are doing, and they've put out a little video with some snippets of upcoming models for this year. So we're going to play that silently now, and we're going to talk over it and analyze what we've got here. So let's have a look. Lots of new models. There's some 40k stuff here, so I'm sure we don't care about this one little bit. Somebody on a cloud. That looks like an elf there. Looks like a witch hunter or something.
Oh, I've not seen this. Oh, let's put the sound on that. Can we just
Dwarf.
da da da?
Yeah. And then we've got this.
Palanquin. Is
Look
it
at that.
Palanquin or Palanquin? I like both.
Destruction, decadence, death. So, obviously, if you want to watch that video with the sound, then you can head over to the Warhammer community after you've watched this, not during the show. And I'm just going to read this here. We're clearly in for a great year of Warhammer. Who was that striking specimen at the end? Yes, we showed you many of the new kits that will be accompanying the Hedonites of Slaanesh Battletome, but we kept one a secret until now. Behold, Glutos Orsulion, Lord of Gluttony. So Remington's title has been taken away from him and handed to this new model. I hesitate to even call it a miniature because look how vast it is. It's got two crab-handed ogres pulling it along. Now, you've complained recently about crab hands being shoved onto everything left and right. So what are your thoughts on the crab-handed ogres here before we even get to the rest?
They're just really not that practical, and they're just going to slip everywhere. So I don't know. I can't think that this palanquin. I'm going to say palanquin is very efficient on different terrain. But you know what can you say? They are quite fearful. Those. It's an awesome model, in it. Wow, I love it. And you know what I love best is the peacock feathers. You know, I mean, I like female miniatures, right? And I like Middle Eastern vibes because I'm half Middle Eastern myself. And I'm always thinking, when are Games Workshop going to do something truly like, you know, ancient Persian, Middle Eastern? And they've hit both criteria for me with the Hedonites of Slaanesh. So
Now,
there you go.
before we dive deeper into this, from the comments, people are referring to the fact that you seem to be sinking off the bottom of the screen every week.
This chair is not as high as my old one.
Well, you know, you could tilt the camera down a little bit, not too far, mind you.
How's that?
There you go. You can actually see what's on your t-shirt now. What's it say?
It says Black Prince.
Okay.
There you go. Black Prince. So, Andy, I know you won't be getting these, will you? Because you like things with beards and things with, you know, bright green bases. So I can't see you getting into these guys, but can you see me getting into them?
Well, this seems to have Remington written all over it, if you ask me. Let's have a look at some of the close-up images they've got here. So, look at that. Look at that tongue sticking out the side of the mouth there.
Oosh.
From the side, you get a good look at this snake-like apparatus, like a question mark over the back. And this, how do you go about that nice kind of marble effect that they've got on these bits of the platform here?
You know, it also reminds me a little bit of the sort of Conan the Barbarian, original Conan the Barbarian film, right, with the serpent. It's kind of like a mixture of nostalgia and ancient history. And what is it with purple, right? I mean, I think purple was the color of royalty because it's very hard to make that color in traditional dyes, if I'm not mistaken. But why do you think purple is equated with Slaanesh?
Because it's luxurious.
Luxurious. Turkish delight is often purple, isn't it? Pinky purple. I don't know. I just think. Do you remember the advert Fry's Turkish delight in the 80s? I'm showing my age now.
The chocolate Turkish delight is terrible as far as I'm concerned. Regular Turkish delight, fine, but put chocolate on it and for some reason it becomes foul. Don't know if you agree.
Oh, hold on a minute. In the comments, have you seen the hidden Chaos Halfling serving him food? I have not. Andy, can you get us some more close up? Chaos Halflings. Now that's something I could get into.
Well, let's find out, shall we? We can go through all these pictures of times. Is any of those two? So this one, I don't see a Chaos Halfling anywhere. However, I do see this large monstrosity, and if you look closely, you can see that the kind of marble statue is carved into a very muscular figure there, holding the top of the platform
Yeah,
up in stone.
very similar to what's on the Cauldron of Blood, right? For the witch elves there, daughters of Cain. But we've seen that before, haven't we? We've seen that in you know, the clues they've given us day by day throughout December, right? Games Workshop was doing its advent calendar, and so that was one of the clues.
Yes, it is obviously going to be compared to the Cauldron of Blood. Do you think this is better than the Cauldron of Blood? I do, personally.
I Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you on that. I think this is a splendid model. It's really a fantastic centerpiece, isn't it? Um, yeah. I mean, we've not seen what's on the back there, but it looks like there's some marble imagery holding up the back end of that chariot as well. Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. I mean, one of the delights in those days was ice. Actually, ice was highly prized in those days. Iced sherbet, in fact. So I can see this Lord of Decadence there having a golden cup filled with iced sherbet and pomegranate. How about that? The decadence.
And
And
why not?
peacock, also a sign of royalty, but be careful, guys, because you shouldn't. Apparently, peacock feathers are quite unlucky in ancient Persian culture. You shouldn't have peacock feathers indoors. Been tempted many times because I think they're amazing, but yeah, apparently it's unlucky.
Noted. If I ever want to bring peacock feathers indoors, I'll keep that in mind, certainly. Now, you can see here the mutations that are going on with this. I'm not going to say unfortunate soul because he's obviously having a whale of a time. Obviously, he's been blessed by Slaanesh, and just the fact that he's being pulled around on this magnificent piece of technology and seems to have all these servants. But obviously, it takes its toll on you when you start to become some kind of tentacle fiend, as often happens to Chaos Worshippers. So, do you think it's worth trading your mortal form for the life of decadence? Is that something you would go for?
Well, he's not gone all out, hasn't he? He's not that fat. He's not like the big ogre king that was what's his name? I can't remember the big gold fag. No, the one that's so fat he has to be lifted up by loads of little Gretchens.
Can't remember his
Certainly.
name, but it's also,
Mm.
look, tentacles coming out from like his armpit. He's got horns. He's got a tongue that seems to be 2 foot long, which doesn't seem very practical for eating all this magnificent food that he's probably
Yeah.
provided with. And
I think it's not quantity, is it? It's not quantity, it's quality these guys are into. That's the difference between Slaanesh and just the Great Moor, right? The Great Moor just wants anything to eat. He'll eat anything. He'll eat boulders if it has to. But Slaanesh is just much more, upmarket, right? They like nice stuff. I can totally go with that.
fair enough.
What do you think, Andy?
I think it's a magnificent bit of kit. And if I was in the market for a new army right now, I would strongly consider it because I think this would be a lot of fun to paint. I'd also like to see what you'd do with it. So I
Yeah,
don't know
well,
if I don't know if you're considering a full-on Slaanesh army at all.
I'm considering a Slaanesh mortal army for sure. Not some of those silly, um, sea dragony face monsters with the weird, you know, identikit poses. Don't like them, but these mortal ones, brilliant. I've got some seekers of Slaanesh, so I've sort of got the beginnings of something. But we've seen two ogres before, or two troll-like ogres holding up the Chaos Shrine. And this seems like, they've taken this to another level now, which I like. Um, and I also like the plastic surgery on the charioteer there and some of the other Slaaneshi models. It kind of looks a little bit like Hollywood, doesn't it? With the Botox faces stretched out, you know?
It's like you've described to someone what you want to look like to be attractive to the world, and they've kind of just gone for it without knowing what humans look like. If that makes sense. So it's like a
Absolutely. I mean,
twisted. It's like a wish that's been twisted against you, sort of. I think we touched on this a bit with some of the previous models as well, where all the elements are correct, but they're put together in a kind of twisted and unnatural way.
yeah, I mean, we can't make too close comparisons with the Persian Empire, in my opinion, because it's been history has been very distorted by the winners. by Alexander the Great. You see, in Persian, they don't refer to him as Alexander the Great. They refer to him as Iskandar, and Iskandar means the destroyer, because he didn't, in their opinion, he didn't bring culture to the Persians. He destroyed it. Um, so I don't know if you can. I mean, our minds in the West have been twisted by history, but also things like the 300, which paints the Persians in a really, really bad light. Obviously, that wasn't all true. You know, they didn't look like monsters, for example. But I think perhaps a closer comparison with the tenants of Slaanesh would be a culture like Babylonia and Babylon from the Old Testament, because in the Old Testament, God ends up destroying Babylon, doesn't he? Because of its wicked, insidious ways. Um, but I don't think we know enough about the what people dress like, maybe as much as we do with the Persians, because they documented things much better.
So one thing that strikes me with some of these models is the line between what is flesh and what is not flesh is sometimes blurred. So you've talked about with some of the crab claws how you're not necessarily a fan of that because you think it looks kind of stuck on. I would say if you look at the guy in the center there, it's kind of like gold armor plate, but it also kind of looks like an exaggerated, like collarbone sort of area to me. So I think it blurs the line because it's the same color as the skin tone as well. To my eye, it's not far off.
Oh yes, I see what you're saying. So they've all had tans. They've had Hollywood bronze tans as well. Go with their armor. I like the whole vibe. I mean, I kind of it's a shame they have to be evil, isn't it? Because they're very elegant looking.
And I have just spotted that the ogres actually have extra arms. The one on
Mm.
the right there has got the regular arm, like without the claw coming out of his armpit, it looks like, and then has legs at the back there, clearly distinct.
Mm. They're probably closer to Chaos Spawn than they are to ogres.
Well, that's the risk with Chaos, isn't it? It starts off, you just get the gifts, and then eventually it starts to twist you.
It's funny you say that, Andy, because we were playing Vermintide, I think last night, and a Chaos Warrior we encountered, and after I think probably once I'd slaughtered him, he spawned into a spawn of chaos and then destroyed me. So that's always the gamble, isn't it? You take when you worship a chaos god that you could worship them too hard.
If their favour falls too much on you, then your body can't handle this vast amount of gifts that you've been receiving. Then you
I
become a
don't know if
spawn.
that used to be in the old rules, didn't it? That you could, if you were like a chaos champion in the battle, you could achieve, demonhood. But if you roll badly, you just turn into a chaos spawn, right?
I
I
do
like
I
that.
do remember there were rules that required you to have a spare demon prince, just in case, and a spare chaos spawn. So yeah, that was definitely a thing.
Do you think we've seen all the Slaaneshi releases now?
I think
Because we've
probably.
got we've got foot soldiers, we've got foot archers, we've got the new seekers, if I can call them that, with spears, and new seekers with the bows, and of course we've got the stuff from a year or two ago, where the woman holding up the mirror and the guy playing a harp, which is like in his flesh. Awesome. Um, but yeah, it looks like we've got all the really good stuff come out now. I don't know. I've got a feeling there might be one or two more bits, but I'm not 100%.
I'm going to
Um,
try and zoom in on this picture a bit. Doesn't
yeah,
actually
can
seem to
we
be
please see the
working.
halfling holding up a silver cup? That's what we're looking for in the photo.
Oh, it doesn't like zooming in on this picture for some reason. It's zooming in on all the text instead, but not the
The
picture.
halfling thing is in the head on shot on top of the palanquin in the middle of the big silver cup. In the
Well,
middle with the big silver cup.
Doesn't seem to be working very well for me, unfortunately, the website, as far as zooming in on the picture. But
Damn it.
we'll look into that for you. Because if there is a Chaos Halfling on there, we would want to know about it, let me assure you. So let's move on to some other stuff now. So this is, I bet I've messed this up by zooming in on a different site now. There we go, it's alright. So, Mantic, what have they got coming up? Because we've seen this giant rat demon before. This time, however, it's painted. I don't think we saw it painted before, did we? We just saw it as a 3D render.
Do you know, that's a great paint job, isn't it? That's really a paint job. I mean, in the past, no disrespect, I haven't always seen that with Mantic figures
Yeah, I
on the
once did
website.
a video, pretty sure it was one of my old Friday shows, where I was analysing the paint jobs on various Mantic monsters, and one of them was, it looks unfinished. It was a big blue dragon, but the scales were barely even done. So the difference between that and where they are now, they've obviously got dedicated people giving them lots and lots of time. I would suggest maybe even money, wildly enough,
I mean,
to do
Andy,
ridiculous paint jobs
look,
for them.
look at the fleshy stuff on the wings. It looks absolutely amazing. Do you think, does it come like that, or have they put that effect?
I think there is some texture in there.
It's like creped tissue, isn't it? It's so delicate and veiny. It's amazing.
There will be texture on that, but obviously the paint job elevates it to another level. So
I mean,
that's
that could
obviously
be a
very
demon
nice.
print, couldn't it?
Certainly could. And then we had a look at some other Mantic rats as their ratkin army takes shape.
So is this still fantasy?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
So in the same way that Skaven are kind of experimental, they mess around with technology and magic, mix the two, and come up with their weird creations. The Ratkin have a similar kind of thing going on, it seems, with their potions and such. You can see they've got little potions on their belts, and they're not bad at technology, obviously, if they've got guns.
Yeah,
More
they look
exciting
amazing.
Ratkin content as we near the launch.
So
So
were they like, what do you call those in Age of Sigmar? Warlock pistols or something like that? I
the
can't remember.
Skaven, I don't know if they've got given new names to all the Skaven units in Warhammer now, but this as well exists. The starter box for Kings of War with the Ratkin and the new goblins in it. I don't know if this is currently available. I know it's sold out at one point. I'm not sure whether it's back, but the new Ratkin stuff in there. And the new goblins look nice as well. They're better than the goblin infantry that I've got from the previous
Hmm.
set of releases
So,
several
so
years
what
ago.
happened to their old stuff? Do they still make it, or have they sort of
I
discontinued it?
believe they've discontinued the old goblin infantry and replaced them with this lot, because the old ones weren't very good.
I mean, I started first seeing Mantic stuff. Would it been maybe 2011, 2010?
That's when they were, some Steam, I think, when people were using their models for cheaper Warhammer alternatives like
Yeah.
the zombies. That's what I was doing.
So, I mean, it is. They must be doing great, right, to have lasted this long, and to have grown enough to put out a second line of, a whole brand new line of stuff, right, and different versions of their rule book now. I mean,
I would assume it's usually a good sign when a company can
is
put
it
out
fair to say
lots of lots of
Mantic are
plastic
here to
miniatures.
stay?
When they've got a lot of plastic stuff coming out, I think that's a good sign, because you have to sell a lot of
Yeah,
that generally because it's so expensive to make.
right, sure. Well, the first ones I got were the Mantic Zombies, which were brilliant, right? And then the second lot I got were some Abyssal Dwarves, and I was really disappointed because it was like the bodies were just they're generic dwarves, and you've got these which were plastic, and then you got these metal heads, which was I couldn't really work it out. I mean, I'm not that clever, but I don't know, it took a lot of work to make them look nice. Put it that way.
Yeah, I think I've got some of those models you're talking about, but the new Abyssal Dwarves are obviously really good. They're one of the recent armies.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you get any Kings of War army that was released any time in the last 3 years or so, then it's guaranteed pretty much good stuff.
Nice, man. And it's cheaper, isn't it? Fair to say, it's cheaper. I've
Typically
seen
is
games like
cheaper, like the big centerpiece models maybe even about half the price of the equivalent of GW. The Mantic Giant is very cheap.
So if you were to sort of mix and match stuff, does it still look good on the table? Are they the same sizes, more or less?
Depends what you mix it with. Some of the proportions are going to be a bit different. Like if you look at these trolls here, which still look good, even though these are old. I've got loads of
Yeah.
these. Next to GW trolls, I don't think you would really want to do that. The
No,
proportions are way off. But the
no.
goblins, you'd probably get away with it quite a bit. Depends on
I
the
remember
specific models.
I remember my zombies, they went really well with my Vampire Council army. You know, um, I guess the Skaven stuff would go all right, wouldn't it? The Skaven infantry stuff.
I don't see why you couldn't mix and match the Ratkin with Skaven stuff if you've got some of that. Looks like it'd
But
match
then
up quite nicely.
but then their elves are a lot more spindlier, I
Yes, I think
think.
the elves are going to be one of the next on the chopping block and to be replaced for Mantic. I think the elves are still one that they haven't replaced in a while. The old. So, next. Another thing we've got to look at here from Mantic, briefly, because we haven't really delved deep into this yet, but there's some more pictures of Armada stuff. Of course, the fantasy ship battle game.
Okay.
Clearly, dwarven ships there.
Have you ever had a go on this game yet?
No, I haven't.
So what's it like? Is it like battleships, but 3D?
I wouldn't bet on it. I can't really say too much about it because I haven't delved into it that deeply. But there is a lot of info out there on the YouTubes for people that want to dive into this. I believe that's got to be an orc ship in the middle there. Big teeth on it, and the planks look a bit all over the place. It's got to be orcs. So just a couple of nuggets there. Then, this popped up on my Facebook the other day,
Mm.
and I sent it to you because we don't see too many Beastmen things popping up, apart from the Slangors, which you didn't like. And now, just to rub salt into the wound, we've got a Minotaur's decapitated head on a Stormcast.
Yeah, I like it. Less armor, less apparent armor. Well, the armor's there, but it's not the centerpiece of the model anymore, is it? Which I like. I think that's the way to go with Stormcast now.
What do you think about the
Uh,
practicality of the weapon? I think it's pretty interesting, actually. It looks like kind of a stabby axe on one end and a hammer on the other.
it doesn't look delicate enough to slice a head off. It looks more like a bashing weapon, doesn't it? And
Yeah, I don't think either side of it would just cleave the head off cleanly. So presumably that must have been done by something else, and there's no blood on the weapon anyway.
yeah, I do like his haircut there.
Do you
You
actually?
know,
That's
old
been
school.
widely mocked.
No, I like it because it's they just put a bowl on your head and cut round it. You know,
And on this show, where of course we're known for having such magnificent hair, it's just luxurious,
right?
then haircuts like this don't really stack up on this show. There are other wargaming shows out there where the hair isn't quite so free flowing, so maybe they look a bit better in
So,
that kind
do
of
you think
context.
this is a new? Is this a new Storm Vault of Stormcast, or is this just a single character? Do you think this is like a hunter faction of the
Well,
Stormcast?
they've already got some slightly more. What do they even call them? The ones that have the fur on them.
Is it the Vanguard ones?
Yeah, it's probably got the word Vanguard in there. Yeah, so it might be someone just related to those, just a one-off. I think it's a limited edition model that's available some kind of anniversary or birthday of something.
Wow, wow, that's
So,
cool, man.
and I did see that it was going to be available in stores, but there's not much chance of that at the moment.
No, did I tell you? Was it where? If you didn't know, guys, if you're watching from outside England, yesterday we got told we are now in full lockdown for the next 6 weeks, which sucks tremendously. So, yeah, yesterday was a very dark day for me, anyway. Um, we're only allowed to leave the house for food, basically, or for exercise once a day, and we're not allowed to see anyone. Well, I think we might be allowed to see one other person that's in our bubble.
Yeah, we'll
So
see
that's
how we'll see how it goes this time. Whether it actually
yeah.
has an
But
effect,
I did go
hopefully.
to when was it? Well, a couple of weeks ago, I did go to the Games Workshop store in Leicester, and because apparently each month they would give you everyone who comes to the store, they give you a free miniature, right? And for last month, it was a witch elf, and I was thinking, great. And then I asked the guy, so I heard this thing about the witch elf, and they just cut one out of the sprue of the witch elves and give you that. I was like, oh, but then I'll have an odd number of witch elves. So I thought it was going to be like a special cast, but it
Well,
wasn't.
maybe for that particular one, maybe they had some pre-cut out and then lost them all, or gave them all away earlier in the day, and then when you turned up, they just had to quickly clip one off the sprue for you.
But he was very nice. The guy was very nice. He said it was like mail order only for these. Is it Broken Realms? They had 3 box sets that come out with the new Broken Realms. You get the Black Dragon and the 20, sort of dark elf. I'm going to say infantry. You get the 3 chariots for the chaos in one box. And what else you got? You got some Stormcast stuff I didn't pay much attention to, and then you got one that I was actually interested in, and that was the 2 sharks with the Achelian king. Even though I haven't got, I haven't got the Fishmen faction yet, but he said that was only available online. And then I walked over to the independent store, and they had all those boxes, which apparently you can only get online, which wasn't true. But there you go. Stu Gibson, how you doing, buddy? Same in Scotland. They're in lockdown as well. So I can't say I'm upset about having all this time off work. Well, that's great news for you. I have to work from home now, so I have to teach from this desk 6 hours a day, which is, is exhausting
But plus
mentally.
side, you don't have a commute though.
No, exactly. I've worked it out. I'm going to save something like 90 hours in commuting time.
I bet you could almost buy one of those giant gargants with the money you'll save.
Yeah. But that ain't bad, you know.
It
Well, they've
affects
said
it,
it at least till half term. It might go on beyond that, this lockdown. Who
it
knows?
affects everyone differently, doesn't it? Because everyone has different jobs, whether they are still able to actually go out to the jobs or work at home or not able to work at all, and what kind of living situation they're in.
I mean,
So,
Andy, how about this for a link? How do you think it affects the Games Workshop stock price?
well, why don't we find out? Because, as a matter of fact, we've got a prepared image that should be right here. Wouldn't it be funny if I click the wrong one now? There we go. Look at that. Games Workshop. Do you want to explain what we're looking at here? Because people are sick of charts. They're sick of on all the virus briefings that they've been
Yes.
watching.
Well,
So
at the top there, you see a Games Workshop share today hit £115.61, which is almost an all-time high. And you're looking at the 3-month chart there. So I think just before November, before we had our last lockdown, Games Workshop hit a high, and then everything tumbled because of the new restrictions. Slowly, Games Workshop has rolled its way back up. But those connoisseurs among you might see at the bottom that I no longer have 11 shares because I have sold, as promised. I held on to them for a whole year. I sold 10 of my Games Workshop shares at a 70% profit. So in 1 year, I made 70%. But I kept 1 share back just so this show could go on. And guess what? Literally a day later, the share price went up by 7%.
as soon as you revealed that you'd sold some of the shares, I actually heard Annie in another room going, "Oh." So it's a
Well,
controversial moment.
I did proclaim to Bad Squiddo Games that I would be looking at investing into Bad Squiddo Gaming, and but before I do that, I thought, what can I do with this money to make it grow even further to help, you know, help the likes of Bad Squiddo Games who deserve every success. Well, I bought Bitcoin. Yes, you say, what a great idea. Well, I thought so at the time too, but we'll have to see. Things are looking good so far, though.
Are we going to track your Bitcoin adventure with graphs and pie charts as well?
Only if you really want to. I don't know if the fans will appreciate that, but basically, I've started with 500 quid. I've ended with over £1,000. So it's like, why not turn that? Don't gamble away my investments, says Bad Squid. Okay, it's not a gamble, my love. I have researched this. I think this year is going to be the year of Bitcoin. So there. I mean, it already has been over Christmas
Well,
and
what
New
kind
Year.
of
It
prediction's
went
that
up
then
by
if it's already happened?
pardon?
What kind of prediction's that if it's already happened?
Because it's just the start of what they call a bull run. A bull run. You get bulls, which are confident that things will go up, and bears, which are more, I would say, Andy, you're the perennial bear. Sort of more pessimistic, more realistic. More cautious. Where I'm the bull, right? So you need both in life. That's what makes this show so good. Yes, something about the dollar crashing that is bound to happen. People printing more and more money, so people are looking at things which keep their value or accrue in value. Obviously gold being one of them, but also things like precious art can hold its value. But holding cash is not very good. So this is one of the reasons why the stock market's gone up. People are like, well, if everyone's in lockdown and people aren't producing stuff, and things are closed, why is the stock market going up? Well, it's because people that want to save money, and more people do than perhaps ever before, they want to put it somewhere. And with negative interest rates, God, I'm giving you a financial lesson. I'm sorry.
You
Anyway,
were supposed to
the long
save
and
this
short
for
of
Remington's Millions, the new channel that you were setting up.
it, I should do. This is what I was going to talk about on Remington Billion channel, but I've sort of done it on this show now. So why not? Yeah, why not? I'm here anyway. Yeah, I think people want. I mean, value is something that's scarcity makes value, doesn't it? Right. If you look at models that aren't made anymore by Games Workshop, their value goes up. It's just nature, isn't it? Scarcity means more value, and with Bitcoin, they're not going to ever make more Bitcoin. There is a finite, fixed amount, and that's what one of the reasons it's seen as quite a valuable asset.
See
But
how
there you
that
go.
goes for you. We have got a question from Troll Soup who asks, "Are you a prepper now? So are you like stocking up for the apocalypse?"
um, yeah, I mean, I was a perennial spender in my life, but also I was just interested in having a good time. A devotee of Slaanesh. I wouldn't think about next week or next month. I would just be living today. And I just had an aha moment about 2 years ago when my flat got flooded with sewage, and I thought this is a sign from some greater power telling me I need to change my life. So I spent the next 2 years just basically doing that, and yeah, thinking about my future and my family and where I live, and you know what's going to happen in 20 years. It's important to think about these things, and to round all this off, because I don't want to bore anyone. I mean, we're all into models and Games Workshop, especially, I suppose. These are great investments in themselves, So that's one thing I've held dear to as well.
Well, I can see that we've got a comment on toilet roll in the chat there from Bad Squiddo Games, and I can tell you a very small toilet roll related anecdote in which, in this house, we accidentally became toilet paper hoarders. Accidentally, mind
It's
you.
you, was it?
Accidentally, because when we were ordering our online shopping to avoid venturing out into the plague-filled wastelands for delivery, there is a minimum amount that you have to have in there to not get charged an additional fee. So I did all my shopping items first, thought, oh, it's not quite at the threshold yet. So just in case Annie forgets to add any shopping to it. I'm just going to bulk it up with something expensive just to reach the threshold, just in case. So I thought I'll just add an extra big pack of toilet paper in there. And then she actually forgot to click confirm on her part of the order. So it remained full toilet roll. So the person delivering must have thought, yep, you're the kind of scum. You're the one that's depriving all the old people of their toilet rolls. So, yeah, exclusively revealed. Accidental hoarders.
So you order all your stuff online. Do you go to the shop, Andy? Maybe.
Not that often. Try to avoid it nowadays. Especially, well, you know how they tell people to wear masks in the supermarkets? I haven't ever seen one child wearing a mask.
Children are the ones spreading it. I mean,
Exactly.
I can't believe people haven't cottoned on to that yet.
Children running around, picking up things off the shelves, coughing in each other's mouths at school all day.
I mean, my boss at work has got it just before the Christmas break. It's like the worst timing, but the only person he's been in contact with is literally students, you know, and apart from his wife, right, who's working from home. So it, I don't know. I might be a bit like, biased now, but it's definitely just, yeah, it's young people, isn't it? Students, especially because they're the ones moving around the country more than anyone else. Everyone else is working from home, right? But maybe it's like the ultimate China thing, right? Because they've got such an aging population. Maybe they just created it to just bump off the older generation. What did you think of
I think that's a wild conspiracy theory that we wouldn't be peddling on this channel.
that?
I'm sure there are plenty of channels dedicated to that kind of thing.
Well, I think. Do you know what though? I think hopefully once all this is over, there's got to be some kind of like, they'll make movies about this time, right?
Well, they
And
already
there'll be.
have you already seen the film called Pandemic?
I saw Contagion.
Oh, Contagion, that's it. I think there's
Yeah, I
something
mean,
called Pandemic
yeah,
as well, but the one called Contagion is
yeah.
exactly like what's going on now, except the virus is more dangerous. So it had already been done.
Yeah, but that was made before, wasn't it? Before the whole thing kicked off. But I mean, we've not really paused to think just the death toll, really. You know what I mean? It's just a number that keeps going up at the minute. But there's more people that have died in this country than many wars that we fought over. So it's kind of, I don't know. Do you know?
Yeah, when there's a lot of people saying, well, it's not a big deal, and then you actually look at the numbers compared to other things that are considered a big deal, then it suddenly brings it all into context a bit.
But I saw a strange stat today. I know this is totally off topic, right? But I saw the amount of deaths related to COVID anyway in Scotland and Wales. And Wales has had more cases than Scotland, but less deaths. How's that possible?
Maybe it's to do with the makeup of the population and access to the necessary healthcare in time and that kind of thing.
Yeah, my brother's just convinced it's all about diet and exercise, and those
Oh
are the
dear.
things that could protect you more than anything else.
Yep,
But
jog
obviously
the
staying at
virus
home.
away.
Pardon?
Jog the virus away. Don't think that's going to work.
Wow. So there you are, man.
Anyway, so Remington's conspiracy section we can open up on this show in future as well.
I like it, man. Remington, I need to do a song for that, right?
Yes, that could be good actually. And it has to be something original though. Like the one you came up with just there, you can't use that because people have been peddling that for months. It has to be a brand new original conspiracy. You could even run it by me beforehand, and if I've heard of it, then it's not allowed on the show. It has to be something new and original.
Do you think they'll catch on more than like the Remington Industries and Remington's Millions?
It could well do. We'll see if we can
Mm.
spread your conspiracies far and wide and cause panic internationally. That seems like a good use of our time. So, speaking of good use of our time, shall we look at something? Because, first of all, in fact, I think it may have been on. Nope, don't look at that yet. because there's something exciting I want to look at in a minute, but maybe on one of these Mantic pages. Look at this, Mantic getting in on the what the hell is that action by giving us glimpses of upcoming models.
We should take a commission for that, man. I mean,
well, we haven't claimed one from GW yet, so I don't think we can start on Mantic like that. We'll have to go after GW first. But yes, looks like a pickaxe, that, doesn't it?
definitely looks like dwarf miners
with
What do you
armor
think?
plates.
Yeah.
This one looks like some kind of ninja goblin, maybe, with a staff, something like that. Who knows?
Yeah.
But anyway, another thing I wanted to look at. So, my attention was drawn to this company, which is, I don't even know what it stands for, but it's MOM Miniatures, and I think it's Spanish. And my eye was drawn to it because what they have are several miniatures that are reminiscent of certain old school GW products. So the gas rat, for instance.
Ah,
Look at that.
nice.
Pretty
But
cool.
did these used to be plague sensor bearers, or is that something different?
That would be the Globadier, as
That's
in
right.
Vermintide, and then this is clearly reminiscent of that.
Yeah, but they don't. Do they have Globadiers still in Age of Sigmar?
I'm pretty sure they do, yes.
Right, these are cool, aren't they?
So they've got like gas rats. They've got assassin rat as well. Very clearly looks like the old gutter runner. And I was just going through their range, obviously inspired by that, and saw that they've got some nice evil dwarves as well, including this thing, which I think looks very nice indeed, and I think you will agree. Look at that.
I love that model, man. That's awesome. The Vizier Tower. See, that's great, isn't it? He's like a little shake, isn't he? Shake, magical shake,
With the
summoning up genies.
with the flaming bulls pulling him along.
I love that, man. That could be like a flying chariot, couldn't it?
Very cool. And side view there. It kind of looks like the tails are actually rope attaching the bulls to the chariot by their butts.
I mean, I'm surprised Games Workshop haven't gone down the like Arabian Nights faction, you know, because there's so much, you know, there's a wealth of stuff there. Maybe this new Slaanesh is the closest we're going to get to it.
Have a look. They've got some dark dwarves that have gigantic shields by the looks of things.
Wow. You're not going to get past them, are you?
And then they've got some regular dwarves as well. They've got all kinds of stuff, but I thought some of this was the coolest. So, Dwarf Throne.
Well, the prices look pretty reasonable, don't they?
Yeah, very old school looking, and it's not a model range that I'd ever seen before, so I thought it'd be something we could have a quick look at. Thought
No,
that'd be
I love
fun.
that chieftain, and they kind of look a little bit comedy, the dwarves, which I like. They've got very long arms.
Yeah, I like the little red noses they've given them in the paint job there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really cool, man.
Very nice. So anyone who's not heard of these before, go and check them out. I'm going to be having a closer look at them as well, and if I can find any other particularly spicy nuggets in there, then we'll have a look.
So
At a
what's
later
that company called, Andy?
That is MOM Miniatures,
M-O-M.
which as far as I can tell is a Spanish company.
M-O-M Miniatures.
Yes. So while Remington is Googling, it's time for the #1 rated segment in internet history. It's time for What the Hell Is That? So strap yourselves in, get your thinking caps on, prepare your recognition software in your brains, and prepare to identify the miniature hiding in an image.
What the hell is that? What the hell is that? Is it a chaos dwarf or a vampire bear? No, what the hell is that? What the hell is that? Oh, what the hell is that? What the hell is that? Only Andy and Remington, Andy and Remy, Andy and Remington know. What the hell yellow Neferata's hat. What the hell is that? What the hell is that? Is it a mangled squig or a sorcerer's rat? Only Andy and Remington! Andy and Remington know.
And we're back. So, obviously, a bit of a Slaanesh kind of crab theme going on. So here's a giant crab. And that crab contains pieces of a miniature, which I can tell you is available in the Warhammer Age of Sigmar section of the Games Workshop website at this moment. It's currently available, so it's not an old out of production miniature. Currently available, several pieces of it are hidden within this crab. But what the hell is that?
Well, there's a horn-like piece at the back top left there. I can see that, but then it's got
Certainly is.
It's got this weird steel girdle. It looks like rammed right in the middle of the crab's face there.
It's got something sticking out of its mouth like a bit of a cigar there. Also, if you look towards the right of its face, you'll see that a bit of its shell doesn't look very natural, so maybe there's a bit of texture spliced in there from a miniature. Possibly a wing texture, a bit of membrane there. And also one of the eyes has clearly been replaced with a mouth. But whose mouth is it?
Yeah, that's a tough one, Andy. I don't know. We haven't got any guesses so far, so maybe you've stumped.
I don't think so. I think there'll be someone in there. I keep thinking that these are too difficult, and then somebody just arrows in on it and gets it immediately. I think someone's going to get this.
The usual crew that get this right, William Matthews is one of them.
I think he is here.
Silent for now.
Biding his time.
Yeah, I'm stumped, mate. I mean, would I be right in thinking it's a Beastman thing?
Oh.
No.
I can tell you that it is chaos related. So I'm even going to bring up Mr. Arrow here and point at the things that are not supposed to be there. Yeah. So, Mr. Arrow, do your magic. So there's a bit of texture going on here, clearly a wing membrane. There's a horn there, clearly doesn't belong. This thing sticking out of its mouth, clearly a foreign entity. Then we have this tiny little mouth here. Whose mouth is it?
Is it a mouth or is it a tongue sticking out?
That there is a mouth.
No, I mean the steel girdle thing. Is that
that thing could well be part of a weapon.
Oh.
As Annie suggests.
Kind of greater demon?
I wouldn't quite go that far. But you're definitely heading in the right direction, I would say.
Bad Squiddo Game says, is it a bloodthirst or something? Cedar Kurugan says, is it Valkyr the Bloody?
Oh. Well, let's find out.
Oh, Cedar.
Let's click the right thing and find out. There we go. Yes, it is.
Oh, wow. What a great guess. So, Andy is going to send you a box of free miniatures, Cedar.
I don't remember stating that. I'm going to have to go back and watch this video and make sure that I didn't say that.
Oh, I think Bad Squiddo Games should donate some. Yeah.
You know, there is a bit of protocol to prize giveaways. You generally have to find out from the people providing the prize beforehand what it is, rather than just announcing on air that they are giving it away. How about you give something away? Put your money where your mouth is. Put your cashed out GW stock money where your mouth is.
That has become digitalized gold now, I'm afraid. And we'll see what happens to that in a couple of years. But
we'll see if people get prizes in a couple of years when Remington cashes out his Bitcoin.
You see, it's hard to understand it now, but it's like when I first bought Games Workshop shares, you probably thought I was crazy, especially in March when I was down by like 30%. But who's laughing now?
But
I don't
yes,
know.
well done. So you can see a piece of the wing membrane was clearly there, a bit of the horn, the mouth, very distinctive, so well spotted there. And I think that was an excellent job done there by Cedar. Good job.
Who's Troll Soup? Wait, that crab wasn't smoking? No, it wasn't smoking. That was a tough one, Andy. So, Cedar, well done, my friend. Done amazingly well there, and hopefully, Bad Squiddo via Andy will be sending you some goodies.
Hopefully Remington will be sending you a fine selection of Remington Industry delights. Oh, William thought it was too tough this week.
Wow,
Well, I feel I've had to up my game since you have been jumping right in there and nailing it every time. So,
he's been amazing,
got some competition now.
amazing. Oh, so let's back to Vermintide just a second, Andy. Right, so
Yes.
Vermintide 1 is all about the Skaven, yeah. Vermintide 2, we get introduced to Nurgle, right, and also Beastmen. If there
Yes.
was a Vermintide 3, who would you like to see as the bad Gribblies?
Well, one thing
Or
we haven't had yet would be demons.
yeah,
We've only had mortal chaos so far. That would be an
yeah,
interesting one because you could even have things like Nurglings running around, so you could still have the chaos theme, but actually have demons in there this time.
and Bloodthirsters, right? And
Yeah,
yeah,
greater demons as the big massive bosses.
wow.
That'd be pretty terrifying. There's also the obvious option of undead as well. It wouldn't
Yeah,
necessarily fit in with the end
that
times theme,
no, it would be too zombioid, wouldn't it?
but if you were transplanting that game system into a different era, not in the end times anymore, then undead would fit in nicely. William
yeah,
says
I don't.
Vermintide 3 Snotlings edition. Yeah, they haven't done orcs and goblins because, of course, they weren't. Were orcs and goblins doing much during the end times?
Yeah, they ended up joining the forces of order,
Yeah,
bizarrely.
so that wouldn't work.
Yeah,
Unless
that
they let you
you know,
play as the Chaos and fight against a swarm of orcs.
I mean, maybe if Archaon is if they make a third one and third is the final one, then that could be, Archaon himself coming, and then you'd see more Chaos Warriors and the like. And yeah, here's one for you, Andy. So you know how Skaven, at least Clan Skye, use technology, right? Um, how come there isn't a Chaos faction that manipulates technology? Because if there was, surely they'd be like unstoppable, right?
Don't they already have the Skaven doing that for them as
Yeah,
disciples of
but
chaos?
I mean, Skaven are really hit and miss, aren't they? But if it was, I don't know. I guess the closest one would be probably Zinch, right?
And don't forget, there is Chaos Dwarves as well. They make fine use of technology.
True. Yes, that is true. Yes. So there you go.
That'd be an interesting one. Chaos Dwarves with hobgoblins, perhaps, as the
I'd
lesser minions.
I'd love that. Yeah, definitely an expansion, right? Going to the Darklands.
That would be fun. We're giving them free ideas here. And you know that they've been glued to this channel ever since our Vermintide coverage began, which is why we get like 28 views on each episode.
I know dozens of views.
It sounds
Uh,
better when you put it like that, yeah.
I
They
know.
are adding things to Vermintide too, though, because
I'm looking on the right hand side, Andy, of an episode we put out 4 years ago called "Bone Splitters Are Coming." Andy and Rem show 1.3K views.
that's not even a lot compared to some of the others back then. We were
I
regularly
know.
hitting 3, 4, and 5,000 on some of those early ones.
I think less people are using YouTube, or maybe they're just all watching Warhammer Weekly now.
Well,
know?
it's safe to say they're not doing that. Times haven't got that desperate. I know we're in a pandemic, but people do
Definitely.
have some limits.
I mean, Andy, you need to get out there more. You know what I mean? I think you need to see if you could be a guest on Warhammer Weekly. You know what I mean? That's what we need to be. We need the exposure now. We need to get back into the public eye of Warhammer. You know, because we can't. It's not like we can just turn up at Warhammer World anymore now and just expect there to be a flock of flans like there used to be.
Well,
Right? So
that's
maybe
not fault of ours, though.
no. So maybe I need to push you as your agent. I mean, we do have an agent, Mickey Genva, but you know, she's been off the radar for like what feels like forever. So maybe it's time that I start pushing you forward for some stuff, Andy. What do you think?
Well, I think we can talk about that off the air and talk about some cross-marketing opportunities that may be out there. Because we do deserve a larger audience than we currently have. I think it's safe to say. We're putting out some
Yeah.
quality weekly entertainment. Kind of quality weekly entertainment that you don't get on any other channel, quite frankly. And
No.
I think we need more eyeballs on us.
I mean, Andy, you need to bring your A game to that show. Do you know what I mean? Like Reef Beastman brought his A game to that show. You need to come on there and really make a great impression. Right. So I don't, you know, none of these long silences, no thoughtful silences. You've got to be like, you know, an explosion of personality, Andy. You
A
can do it, man.
personality explosion. I don't think people need to see that.
Oh God. I've got to hype you up, man. No way are Warhammer Weekly going to have you on to steal all their viewers, says Cedar Kurakan. He's my man.
Do we really want Warhammer Weekly viewers, though?
Yeah, man. Well, everyone's welcome.
Wouldn't they
I
just
love it
turn up
all.
asking us for tournament tips, though? And what's going on in the latest meta with the Fire Slayers?
You understand all that side of things, Andy,
No, I
because you've
don't.
got like a mathematical brain, unlike me.
I haven't
You know.
paid attention to the Age of Sigmar rules in about 4 years.
But don't say that either.
Oops, I'll edit that part out. Yeah, don't worry. It's fine.
The problem we've missed their Christmas hangout, New Year's hangout, which we used to do that too and have loads of guests on. I don't know what happened this year, but you know,
We had two
we need
top-notch
that
guests on for Christmas.
We need our guests to come back. I mean, like the two guests we've had on the last couple of weeks been phenomenal.
I
Batsuka
think.
and you know.
Well, we are working on some additional future guests to be added to the guest rotation, so don't you worry about that. And also, we've got big news on the Forest of Rem Witch Coven follow-up front as well. Got tentative plans afoot for a grand multi-person quest. Far more
Wow.
in-depth than Forest of Rem or Witch Coven ever was.
Well, if I mean, Andy, that is a tall order. I mean, Games Workshop announced a year ago that they're going to be redeveloping, you know, their greatest game, you know, the old world Warhammer Fantasy Battle, and it was 3 years away. So I don't know how you're going to top off the tremendous narration, imagery, and just illustrative beauty of Witch Coven, which I myself, you know, was the games master for, dungeon master for, and I don't know how you're going to top that off. It's going to be hard. I mean, first you had the Forest of Rem, which was expertly delivered. It was like the foundational stone, all right. But the tower that rose above the dirge was Witch Coven, soon to be made into a Hollywood film or Netflix series, I imagine.
Well, Witch Coven did have unprecedented levels of player freedom of choice, definitely. I really felt that when I pitched an idea, it was taken on board and you ran with it. You didn't at all kind of steer it back to what you had in mind the whole time, which I liked.
Yes, you did very well, actually. You did very well in that. It was like there was like, I designed the game system so there's like a 95% chance that you would get slaughtered as the sort of punchline at the end. But somehow you managed to escape death's clutches.
I think I only died once.
That's right. A statue of Cain just basically fell on top of you, didn't it?
Yeah, so people can look forward to this brand new adventure with a more robust rule system than just whatever I feel like, here's a d6 roll. There will be some more concrete structure to it, so I'm sure people are very excited.
definitely have stats.
There
'Cause
will
I
be
think
stats, which is an innovation that you did bring in actually with Witch Coven, and I feel I'm going to steal that.
yeah, yeah, I could sense that was a game changer at the time. But yeah, have stats, and then you can gain abilities and stuff, right? And you can actually activate abilities. Kind of cool. And I think we could do with like each episode should have its own image, to set the scene somewhat somehow.
These are lofty ideas you've got. I'll have to discuss them with
No,
our team, and
involve
then
action.
we'll see what happens going forward. But since we don't have an adventure segment this week, I think that about wraps it up. You've been looking at this picture of a beautifully photoshopped crab for quite a while now, and you can continue to look at that for another couple of minutes while we wrap up.
Hold on. What about the picture I sent you?
What picture?
Well, I started painting something new this week.
You never sent me a picture of that.
No,
You did not send me that.
I did. I did so.
Unless
Check
you
your-
sent it me 2 minutes before the start of the show and I didn't see it.
I sent that sucker on Discord, man.
Well, while you're finding it, I'm going to tell the people that this Thursday I'm going to be painting a miniature live on the air. Part of a new weekly painting stream series. I'm going to be painting, starting with this guy. Let's see if it'll focus on him. Let's get the old high-class hand focus.
That is next level stuff. Andy is going to be painting.
I'm going to be painting Sergio the Saxman from Bad Squiddo Games.
That's amazing. Look at his pose. What's he wearing? I can't quite tell.
He's wearing trousers and not much else. A bit of a chain round the neck. But you can see that painted in all its glory this Thursday, so keep your eyes peeled for that one. Very exciting times ahead.
Beautiful. I've been painting up my war cry band. Shadow Stalkers, is it?
Is the answer on the floor?
Yeah. Well, do I have to show you from my phone of the picture I sent you?
Yeah, go on, and then hopefully a really embarrassing text message will pop up at the same time.
Is that at all helpful?
Well, you know
Look
what
how
I can do? I'm going to bring up the episode thumbnail for a second, so that people can't see me looking through my web browsers and whatnot.
I'm
Then,
painting Statue of Sigmar just for you, Andy.
so while that is on the screen, I'm going to look and see if you actually did send me this image. And yes, you did. You sent it after I had already closed the window, as I expected. So let's open those up, and then we'll show the people before we go. So, got those lined up. Ready? So let's get rid of the thumbnail again. And we'll get rid of the crab now too. As wonderful as it is, there is a limit on how long you can stare at a crab. So, go.
Look at that. Now, see, that would have worked really well in Witch Coven, wouldn't it? Look at that, man. More crab, says Keely. Oh, come on. But yeah, enjoyable painting that scenery. I only took me an hour or so. I could add more to it, but I kind of.
Is there some Remington dusting going on there?
Yeah, but no, because I put a lot of washes on that stuff there. So yeah, my first Warcry miniature done.
And
dusted.
we've got another image here. In front of a wall of skulls. Like a tide of skulls.
Yeah. You think as an assassin, his perception would tell him that something bad is happening behind him, but
Unless he's just walking away from it very slowly.
yeah. Well, I've got to go, Andy. And
We've
you
all
guys,
got to go. We've reached that time. And
amazing.
let's have another look at the episode thumbnail, shall we? Because it is magnificent. It's
Yeah.
deliciously decadent. So before we go, I'm going to give the special personalised thanks to the following patrons, following Patreon supporters who keep this channel afloat in these dark, turbulent times. So the following people are extra spicy. Extra special thank you to Graham, Kim, John, Eric, Barbara, and Guy. All of you, super spicy, keeping this lifeboat, this beacon of joy afloat in these dark times, allowing us to guide everyone on their rafts of misery towards the lighthouse of inner peace and fulfillment.
Wow. Well said, Andy.
There you go. And
Well
on that note, would you like to say goodbye, Mr. Remington?
Goodbye, Mr. Remington.
Don't forget to like the video, of course, and subscribe if for some reason you haven't. And don't forget to comment on the video afterwards as well. All these things apparently help us to get YouTube views. That's what I've heard. So do all those things. Click all the links below as well. Why not? I'm sure you've got a few minutes to kill. And with that, all that remains to be said is good night out there. Whatever you...
It's the Andy and Remington Steel Show on your screens tonight. It's the Andy and Remington Steel Show for your home delight. We're talking about Age of Sigmar and anything else that is cool. Talking about Warhammer Fantasy, it's easy to love.